Hey, great to have you here. So we just recently got the confirmation of our San Diego Comic-Con SH Figuarts event exclusives for this year. And I want to share the details we got for those and just talk about my thoughts on how effective they are as 2025 event exclusives. Just real quick before jumping in, we obviously got the announcement of it being Beast Gohan, Grade 8 Vegeta, and King Piccolo from Dragon Ball. I also had my Comic-Con exclusive prediction video from a couple months ago. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well as we go along with the photos here. So let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right into the pictures. All right, so for our first event exclusive, we obviously have Beast Gohan here. Awesome to see him be selected as a figure. This was one I actually had on my reduced list for my predictions, but I didn't wind up choosing it. Honestly, I thought it was a bit of a stretch to put him on my reduced list because he is one of the later figures as far as recent releases to be an event exclusive. Awesome to see him here though, because I feel like this was a figure that people probably want to pick up if they didn't get him previously. So let's run through some of the photos. So this first one, we have him with kind of the smirk face with his arms crossed. Kind of standard stuff we see there, so we'll see what else we potentially get with him in the next photo. All right, just doing a bit of an action pose, so a bit of a kick move. Different faceplate there as well with him looking off to the side a little bit more. We have the closed fist and then the grappling hand as well. I will say, talking about the crossed arms, be careful with those. I feel like you probably should look at maybe heating them up before putting them on, because I know for the regular Beast Gohan release, those were kind of a pain to put on, take off, and you got to be pretty careful with those. So jumping to the next photo we have here, just more of an action pose once again, him doing a special beam cannon potentially here with the two fingers from Piccolo, and then just an open palm hand on the left with him obviously screaming here once again, so different faceplate. Just another look for him. We really see the gloss on him here, so this is obviously one of the changes they made for the event exclusive, is Gohan having more of that gloss finish to him. Kind of weird that he has it on the shoes as well. I feel like it makes sense that his gi would have that, but he's just overall, his entire outfit is that gloss paint to it. And then looking at the next photo we have here, so we have Gohan more of a fighting position, so with the clenched fist and the martial art left hand. So nothing really new to talk about here. Moving on to the last photo we have here, we have Gohan probably showing off the most that comes with him. We have the aura effect behind him, similar to what we got with the Majin Vegeta a couple of years ago. This one obviously more of that lavender purplish color though, so fitting for Gohan specifically. And then we have the pinkish purple lightning bolts coming out of it as well. So cool aesthetic to him. It's obviously something they didn't have to fully create from scratch, but it's cool to have another representation of an aura effect here. So we have Gohan standing here looking pretty menacing.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
And that's about it as far as what comes with Gohan. So the really big change from the previous release is that aura effect, and then the shiny gloss coating to him as well. So not a big difference. I feel like if this is a figure you have already, it's probably not one you necessarily need to pick up. I do have the previous Beast Gohan, so he's probably not somebody I necessarily need to pick up. It is kind of disappointing though. It feels like they took out some of the extra pieces here, specifically the special beam cannon hand piece for the right hand, and that special beam cannon blast coming out of that finger as well. So kind of a bummer we don't get that here. I feel like with this Beast Gohan, the special beam cannon was the finishing move he used on Cell Max. It's the big attack that we associate this character with. So it's a little bit weird they took that out. They've kind of done that over the last couple of years though, with taking out some of the accessories for some of these event exclusives. So I guess it gives you a reason to pick up the original release, but still a little bit odd not to include it here. Next up, we have the Grade 8 Vegeta. So let's start with this first photo we have here. So him with the clenched fist, him with the finger pointing hand as well, and just kind of a standard look to him. I think the main change for him is his armor is a little bit darker yellow. I may be mistaken, but I feel like the blue is a little bit darker as well. Just kind of having that alternate color variant to this figure specifically. Jumping in the next picture we have for him. So we have Grade 8 Vegeta punching down at the ground. So here we're getting more of an action pose for this Grade 8 Vegeta. I'm not really sure if you can really put him in this pose unless you're using some kind of stand, but it's a cool look nonetheless. Although I will point out as well, the scaling for this guy is not exactly 1-for-1 when it comes to him compared to an SH Figuarts like 6-inch figure. He's definitely a lot closer in scale than they actually were in the show or the manga, but obviously they can't have this massive ape, so you have to be willing to accept that it's going to be looking a little bit strange on your shelf as far as a size comparison, but I think that's all right. Now looking at the next image we have here, so we just have the Grade 8 Vegeta on the stand actually with the open palm hands. So really I think the thing to point out here is that stand that he comes with, also to have some option as far as keeping him upright and maybe being able to put him in some of those awkward positions that you wouldn't have the option to do without something like this to hold him in place. It's always great to get stands with figures, and having this massive goldish colored stand for the Grade 8 Vegeta is awesome to include. Jumping on to the next photo we have here. So we have him with a clenched fist and an open palm hand. It looks like it could be different hand pieces, but I think it's actually just those two that we've seen already, and they're just pushed together. So you kind of get the illusion of it being something different, but I think it's the exact same hands we've been shown already. Really, the big call out for this photo is the face. He has more of that battle damage, where his right eye's been damaged by Goku's blast effect, and just cool representation of that specific moment. Then moving on to the last photo, love when they do these, and they need to do these more often. So that's something I'll touch on with this guy as well. I talked about it with Beast Gohan as far as the accessories, But with the Grade A Vegeta here, it's pretty bare bones. So we get the massive figure. So obviously, most of what the Grade A Vegeta comes with is this massive sized ape. So we're getting that here. We're getting the stand to hold him in place. We're getting a couple alternate hands, just 2 hand variants for the left hand and then 3 for the right hand. And then it looks like we're getting just the faceplate for the damaged eyes. So his whole head doesn't come off. It looks like it's just that top part of his face that you'll pull off and then put it on the other one. And then also, kind of hard to see here, but we have this tiny little piece of fur. I believe that's to represent Grade A Vegeta's tail being cut off. So if you want to have that instead of having the actual tail, you can do that. Although I'll point out that I think the original release came with a couple accessories, one of which was a smaller Goku that he was holding in his hands, and then another of which was the Yajirobe cutting off the tail as well. So kind of a bummer we don't get those smaller representations of the characters. I get, once again, it may look weird on the shelf, but it would be cool to have those extra pieces to represent those iconic moments that took place in the show. As far as predictions went, Grade A Vegeta was actually still on my reduced list. I actually picked him last year to be one of my selections. I didn't pick him this year though, but I did have him on that reduced list. And then next up we have King Piccolo from the original Dragon Ball, so the Demon King Piccolo here. This one was a little bit of a wild card for me. I was surprised they included this, although we have an accessory here that I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy and probably pick up this figure for that purpose. But when I was debating who potentially could be an event exclusive for this year, I did include Master Roshi as my pick for a Dragon Ball representation. We did get somebody from Dragon Ball, surprisingly, but it just wasn't Master Roshi. We got King Piccolo here, obviously. So looking at the first photo we have of him here, he just really creepily is looking at potentially like Goku in this instance, with the open palm left hand, clenching fist right hand, and just pouncing down on him in this scene. Next photo we got of him, I'm assuming this is an attack from the original Dragon Ball. It's been a little while since I actually watched the anime, and I haven't fully gotten through the manga yet either. So we have him doing a finger pointing pose here with a clenched fist on the left hand. And it's a little hard to see here, but I really like the eyes inclusion here with this headpiece with the kind of red veins popping out of his eyes. Really nice touch there to have for him. And then moving on to the next photo we have, just once again, just pouncing down on potentially Goku from the sky. Open palm hand like he's doing a blast attack, and a karate chop hand in his right hand. Then moving on to the next photo, we have what we've seen already, just him in his standard pose with the clenched fists and just looking off to the side, maybe waiting to fight Goku in like one of the martial arts tournaments. Then looking at the next photo we have here, we have, him actually fighting Goku. So they like to do this a lot where they show you a second figure to kind of get you to bundle them up and buy both. Obviously, this one really works for this guy. I think this Goku's the Tamashii store exclusive though, so kind of tough to maybe get him at this point in time, but it's nice to show some variety as far as an inclusion of a separate figure that you could have with this King Piccolo. And then moving on to the last photo, and this is the one that's probably going to impress the most people. We have King Piccolo on his throne here, really looking like he's ruling down over somebody, and just that massive piece I feel like is going to look amazing on a shelf. I think that's going to be a big reason a lot of people pick this guy up. So he obviously has the different color of the arms. On the older release, I believe he had more of that pinkish tone. This one, he has the more manga-based coloring with the yellow. But as I said, I think that throne is really what's going to drive a lot of people to potentially picking this guy up, because that's not something we got previously. And it's a big attraction probably for a lot of fans out there. All right, last one here. We also got a Godzilla inclusion. I'll cover this one a little bit quicker, but it's from the SH Monstars line. It's not a line I personally have gone down, but I recognize that they're pretty cool figures to collect. So starting off with this first photo, so we're getting this Godzilla -1 variant with him with the charging up blast attack here with his spikes that are lit up, his mouth lit up. Very cool look that we have for Godzilla here. In this next photo, we get more of a portrait view here, looking at him straight on. Really like the blue eyes as well. Hopefully this gets painted as well as this photo represents, because I know a lot of times paint jobs can be hit or miss depending on your specific figure that you pick up. Moving on to the next photo we have here. So we have Godzilla with this heat ray effect. I really like the idea here. You get a nice stand holding it up, but honestly, I talked about this on my live stream reveal watch along. That heat ray blast attack, I don't think it fully works for me, specifically the white portion of it. It just feels like it's a bunch of rolled up paper, and you don't really see much actual texture. There's a little bit of creases within it, but I still think it's not the greatest blast attack you could have made. And honestly, if I ever picked this guy up, I would probably not pose him with the blast effect at all. Now, jumping on the next photo we have of him here, just kind of showing off the massive length. This is kind of the weird part with Godzilla toys. You have the tail that realistically should be longer than the actual character, but it's hard to do that. So it kind of does a nice job of showing it here, but it has a little bit of curl, so it's not going to take up too much space. And I'm imagining there's a little bit of bend with that tail as well. And now looking at the last photo we have of him here, just showing off that heat ray attack once again, more at a downward angled view from the front side of things, showing off exactly what everything's going to look like. I like the idea of it. I just feel like in some ways the exact molding of it or the coloring of it looks a little bit strange to me personally. So that recaps all the photos we are shown of the event exclusives for this year. As far as price points and where to pick them up, the important information to know is Beast Gohan is $90, the Grade A Vegeta is $220, The King Piccolo is $100, and the Godzilla -1 is $160. So quite a variety of price points there, depending on what you ultimately want to pick up. As far as my personal interest level, I think the Beast Gohan's really cool, but I already have that figure, so probably not one I'm going to grab. Also, you lose out on that special beam cannon. Not super great there. King Piccolo, I haven't gone down the original Dragon Ball line, so he's probably going to be a pass for me as well. The Grade 8 Vegeta from the Dragon Ball side of things is really the only one that I'm considering. 220 is kind of a lot, but I kind of expected a decently high price point for this size of a figure. So he's the one I'm probably considering the most as far as something that I may add to the collection, because the original Grade 8 Vegeta is not one that I have in my own personal collection. And then the Godzilla -1, I don't really go down the SH Monstars line, so not something I need to pick up. But as far as details on how to grab these guys, so obviously you can pick them up at Comic-Con, but as far as the rest of us, Premium Bandai is going to be the way to grab them. And I expect it'll be somewhere in the range of from the night of the Sunday of Comic-Con till like a couple weeks afterwards is when somewhere in that range I would expect them to be posted on Premium Bandai. So definitely keep an eye out. I'll try to make sure I share that information on this channel as well as soon as I find that out. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But as far as the expectation, as I said, I would say something around like the end of July towards the early part of August. Somewhere in that range, these guys are going to be posted on Premium Bandai. So keep an eye out if you want to grab any of these. But that covers today's topic. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in picking up any of these figures, or your thoughts on maybe the price points or the lack of accessories included here. Just share your thoughts in the comments below on these event exclusives, or really anything else Figuarts going forward. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon.